In the annals of the American Old West, few tales are as dramatic and definitive as the final stand of the Dalton Gang. October 5, 1892, dawned like any other day in Coffeyville, Kansas. But by noon, the streets would run red with blood, and the legend of one of the most notorious outlaw groups would be brutally cemented in history. This was not just another bank robbery. It was a desperate gamble, a brazen challenge to law and order that would end in a hail of gunfire and the near-total annihilation of the infamous Dalton brothers. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes of The Calendar of Crime. Before their fateful day in Coffeyville, the Dalton Gang had already carved a bloody path across the American frontier. Originally, 3 of the Dalton brothers, Grat, Bob, and Emmett, had served as lawmen, ironically, as deputies for the U.S. Marshal Service. However, their descent into crime began with horse theft and escalated quickly to train robberies, seeking to emulate the notorious Jesse James. Their gang grew to include hardened outlaws like Bill Power and Dick Broadwell, and their reputation for daring and violence spread throughout Oklahoma and Kansas. They were a force to be reckoned with, but their ambition would ultimately be their undoing. The morning of October 5, 1892, saw the 5 members of the Dalton Gang ride into Coffeyville. Their plan was audacious, even by outlaw standards, to rob 2 banks simultaneously, the C.M. Condon and Cummer Bank and the First National Bank, both located on the town square. This unprecedented move was intended to solidify their place in outlaw lore, surpassing even the exploits of the James Younger gang. They believed the element of surprise and their sheer audacity would guarantee success, allowing them to escape with a fortune before the town could react. However, fate and the vigilance of Coffeyville's citizens had other plans. The Daltons, perhaps overconfident, made a critical error. They were recognized by several Coffeyville residents who had known them from their earlier, more law-abiding days. As the gang dismounted and entered the banks, word spread like wildfire through the small town. The citizens, many of whom were armed and accustomed to the harsh realities of the frontier, did not panic. Instead, a grim determination settled over Coffeyville. Shopkeepers and residents quickly armed themselves, transforming the quiet town square into a makeshift battlefield. The hunters had become the hunted. Inside the banks, the robberies were not going smoothly. Delays in opening safes and gathering money bought precious time for the townspeople. As the gang members emerged, laden with loot, they were met with a fusillade of gunfire. The streets erupted into chaos. Marshal Charles T. Connolly, City Marshal Frank H. Bell, and armed citizens like George B. Cubine and Charles G. Brown engaged the outlaws in a desperate close-quarters battle. The air was thick with smoke and the deafening roar of gunshots. It was a brutal no-quarter fight for survival on both sides. The shootout lasted a mere 12 minutes, but the devastation was profound. When the smoke cleared, 4 members of the Dalton Gang, Bob Dalton, Grat Dalton, Bill Power, and Dick Broadwell, lay dead in the streets of Coffeyville. Emmett Dalton, severely wounded with over 20 bullet holes, miraculously survived, though he would spend years in prison. On the side of law and order, 4 brave citizens had also paid the ultimate price. The Coffeyville raid was a stark reminder of the brutal justice of the Old West, a testament to a community's resolve against overwhelming odds. The Coffeyville shootout marked the effective end of the Dalton Gang. While Emmett Dalton eventually found redemption, becoming an author and actor, the legend of his brothers and their ill-fated raid continues to fascinate. It stands as a pivotal moment in frontier history, a dramatic clash between notorious outlaws and a determined populace. The events of that October morning in Coffeyville serve as a powerful narrative of ambition, betrayal, and the ultimate price of a life outside the law. It's a story that reminds us of the raw, untamed spirit of the American West and the courage of those who defended their homes. Thanks for watching. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe for more from the Calendar of Crime.